Tonight, more details and a walk to raise awareness as friends, family and colleagues cling to hope that missing mother Dawn Walker and her 7-year-old son will return home safely. Families are waiting and wondering as the federal immigration backlog gets worse. A son vows to keep the music alive in honor of his father, a Saskatchewan polka star who died of cancer this month.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Thursday, July 28th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thank you for joining us. Family and supporters of Dawn Walker held a walk today in Saskatoon. It was an emotional march hoping to bring awareness to the missing woman and her 7-year-old son. The well-known Indigenous leader and her little boy, Vincent Jansen, have not been seen since last Friday. Yasmin Correa was there and brings us the story.
It's not every day that the head of the Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations breaks down and weeps. But as the search for Dawn Walker and her son Vinnie continues, people's emotions are running high. Today, at least 100 of Walker's family, friends and supporters marched for an hour, praying to bring her and her little boy home.
This week has been hard, and I feel for all of our people that are here today, and the family, and the mom, Teresa, especially. This is her baby and her grandbaby.
Walker is near and dear to both the Indigenous and literary communities. It appears Walker and her son vanished on Friday. RCMP found her truck and some of her belongings on Monday at Chief Whitecap Park, south of Saskatoon. Police and RCMP are leading a search with underwater and surface teams currently searching the river. They're expanding their efforts in the coming days. Walker's family has many unanswered questions about what happened and want police to conduct a thorough and complete investigation. RCMP and Saskatoon police say they're pursuing every possible avenue in the case, but so far have made no progress. Walker's loved ones say she's been a victim of domestic violence. Today, Saskatoon police confirmed Walker had filed domestic abuse reports, but would not say if charges were ever laid.
We're measuring every angle that we can as far as investigative tactics.
Housing Family Services.
Police say they don't have evidence of foul play at the moment, but that they're leaving no stone unturned. Her loved ones say they are not giving up hope that Walker and her son will return home safe. Yasmin Correa, CBC News, near Saskatoon.
The family of a sexual assault survivor is feeling at ease after an 8-month trial came to an end today. Alexander Kwan has the details.
I think obviously the family is very relieved in the decision.
It was a day full of tears of joy at Regina's Court of Queen's bench. This after 51-year-old Christopher Duke was found guilty of sexually assaulting a 12-year-old girl in 2019. The ruling was released just days ahead of what will be the 3rd anniversary of the assault. Christopher Duke remained emotionless as Justice Graham Mitchell read out the decision. Any details that could identify the girl are protected under a publication ban. While Duke was only found guilty on 1 count of sexual assault against a person under 16, it was alleged the assaults began when the child was just 6 years old. On Tuesday, Justice Mitchell told Duke that his testimony, which argued that he did nothing wrong, lacked credibility. The judge also said that Duke was evasive on the stand and that he attempted to minimize events around the assault. In contrast, the judge said the complainant was articulate and intelligent and that she was credible and forthcoming. The verdict is being welcomed by the Crown.
It's always hard to say whether you expect it or not. Obviously, I felt very strongly in the Crown's evidence, but there's no sure thing, and certainly it's always up to the judge to consider the entirety of the evidence and make the decision.
For now, Duke remains free on bail, but he has to surrender his passport and remain in Saskatchewan. Duke is due back in court in mid-October for sentencing. Under the criminal code, he faces a minimum of 1 year in jail and a maximum sentence of 14 years. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
The Pope took part in his second public mass in Canada today. He was at a popular pilgrimage site in Quebec where he became the target of protesters who were looking for more than an apology. Sarah Levitt reports.
As Pope Francis took his place behind the pulpit for Holy Mass at one of North America's oldest pilgrimage sites, a banner unfurled for all to see, "Rescind the Doctrine." An apparent impromptu moment highlighting the divisive response to the Pope's apology and the hope for many that the Catholic Church will renounce the doctrine, which empowered Europeans to colonize non-Christian lands and peoples. In his homily,
Del fracaso a la esperanza.
Pope Francis relayed the message that this was a journey from failure to hope. He urged faithful Indigenous people in Canada to not give up hope in the Catholic Church. After the Mass, the activist behind the banner explained why, alongside her cousin, she was there representing her aunt, a residential school survivor.
Although the apology, I think, was monumentous and came with some weight, what we're really looking for is action. And so based on what we were hearing in the community, that really has to do with the root, which is the doctrine of discovery.
On the Plains of Abraham were those who could not make the trip to Sainte-Anne-de-Beaupré. Organizers said they expected 140,000 people, but far fewer came out. Still, for some of those who did, it was important to be here for the children who died in residential schools.
That's why I'm here. My spirit told me to come here on behalf of them, and that's why I'm here. Maybe educate people with this.
As for Pope Francis, after holding private meetings tomorrow, he continues on to his third leg of the trip in Iqaluit. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Quebec City.
The gifting of a headdress to the Pope earlier this week continues to draw a lot of attention and controversy. The symbolic gesture carries great significance in Indigenous culture, and it has generated strong reactions. Julia Wong has that story.
For many, the moment was unexpected, coming just after the Pope's apology. Honorary Chief Wilton Littlechild, a former Truth and Reconciliation Commissioner, approached the pontiff and placed a headdress on his head. Later that same day,
now it's been 500 years since the settlers arrived.
An elder from Musquechies explained it was a ceremonial gift.
The giving of the headdress is honoring a man as the honorary chief and leader in a community. And so in doing that, he's actually adopted him into as one of our leaders in the community.
The images made front pages around the world, including the Vatican newspaper. But as with the apology itself, there's a range of opinions about the deep meaning the act signified.
I don't agree with giving a headdress to the Pope. Those things, they have to stop. Have to stop that.
Headdresses are gifted to First Nations leaders, and what they do with them is bound by protocol.
He went to the elders, he went to the leadership, and requested permission to present that gift.
This advocate's grandparents attended residential schools. He was angered by the gift.
Literally, it physically made me sick. If the Catholic Church isn't willing to honor our most sacred gifts, which are our children, are they going to honor that headdress?
Why would you go crown them with a headdress when our people are still, being found, still recovering, and trying to find a way out?
Littlechild's grandson came to his defense on social media, saying that was him showing the Pope respect for coming all the way to Musquechies to apologize. A conversation that, like the trip itself, continues to stir up complex feelings. Julia Wong, CBC News, Edmonton.
Support is available for anyone affected by residential schools. You can call the 24-hour National Crisis Line, the number 1-866-925-4419. The backlog in the Federal Immigration Department's inventory has been increasing. It's left people both in and outside of Canada waiting for answers. Pratush Dayal reports.
They received the application and they started processing. That's it. And that's back in November 1st, 2018. That's the last update.
It has been more than 4 years since Abdusalam Dakari first submitted a refugee sponsorship application for his brother and his family. They are Syrian refugees in Iraq, desperately waiting to come to Saskatoon. The application was rejected in early 2019, but the Department of Justice overturned the decision.
Now, imagine we received that in August 2019. Nothing happened in terms of processing the application up until May 2021. There was a gap, 2 years gap.
Dakari says the situation is urgent. His brother cannot access any jobs from Iraq. His brother is also eagerly waiting to get his 4 children enrolled into schools in Canada. The youngest daughter cannot speak and requires speech therapy, which they don't have access to in Iraq, and the family's safety has consistently been an issue while they wait, now almost 5 years in.
They have children to go to school. They've been out of school for that many years. They have a daughter which was 1 year old when they submit the application. Now is 6 years old, and she's supposed to be in school this year.
Dakari is hopeful his family will arrive in Saskatoon before school starts this coming fall. The federal government's backlog has increased from some 1.8 million applications in November to more than 2.4 million applications now. Ottawa has more than 500,000 permanent residence applications, nearly another 390,000 Canadian citizenship applications, and more than 1.5 million temporary residence applications in its backlog. CBC News also obtained data from Immigration Refugees Citizenship Canada, or IRCC, that breaks down more than 2.4 million immigration applications by country of citizenship. Of more than 2 million temporary and permanent residency applications in the backlog, nearly 1 million came from India. Aside from France, Ukraine, and the US, the top 30 countries with the most pending applications are in the global south. Some experts say it points towards a systemic racism within IRCC.
Collecting race-based data is very, very important. The House Committee for Citizenship and Immigration, they've already done this recommendation several times in their reports. I think IRCC needs to finally, take them up on this.
Ottawa acknowledges the ongoing delays and says it is continuing to reduce the backlog. As for Dakari, every morning is spent just checking his brother's fate in IRCC's portal. But so far, nothing has changed. Pratish Dayal, CBC News, Saskatoon.
Well, the mercury is rising, and one of the more fun ways to beat the heat is a spray park. These kids are clearly making the best of another warm day at the Sandra Schmerler Park in East Regina. As we roll toward the long weekend, you'll want some warm weather strategies in your back pocket because it's going to be hot. Ethan will have the forecast after the break. Stay with us. After playing 6 of their first 7 games against the East, things will now get tougher for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Their next 8 are against Western teams, and that starts tomorrow night against the BC Lions. The Riders will know the Lions very well in a month's time. They face BC 3 times in that span, and that means facing young Canadian quarterback Nathan Rourke, who has not been shy to throw the ball downfield. He leads the league in completion percentage and touchdowns, and he's 3rd in yards with 2 fewer games. However, over his last couple outings, defenses seem to figure him out or at least slow him down.
The more tape you get out on there, the more tendencies you have, the more things you favor one thing or another, and some things you might not even think about. And I think defense coordinators are incredibly intelligent, and they think about those things or they spot those things.
I would just say that we understand that he has a good arm. Like you said, he's not scared. But, I think one of the main things with Rourke is, he's really dynamic. He can run, and that's seeing in film. He's getting touchdowns with his feet. So, as long as we prepare, we do what we got to do, I'm sure we'll be fine.
The Riders will make 10 roster changes for this game. However, most are starters reclaiming their spots after bouts with COVID, injury, or suspension. Game time tomorrow night, 7 o'clock.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital Ford Lincoln. The exclusive export event is back.
And CBC weather specialist Ethan Williams joins me now. It's going to be nice for football tomorrow night.
Yes, it certainly is. Maybe a little too toasty for some of us, but by the time we get to 7 o'clock, things should be cooling off somewhat in Regina. But they are not cooling off in west central Saskatchewan, especially for places like Meadow Lake and North Battleford and Lloydminster, where heat warnings remain in place. And we are looking at humidex levels tomorrow stretching into the mid to upper 30s. And that heat is not going anywhere right now either. You can see much of the province basking in it at this point. The kind of coolest spot is actually the southeast, around Weyburn, Estevan. The heat hasn't quite reached you folks there yet, but as you can see right along that western border, we're still looking at temperatures close to 30 degrees at this 6 o'clock hour. And the heat will continue to build. And you can see that ridge building in very nicely here. But over the next couple of days, it starts to flatten, and those warmer temperatures will stay to our south a little bit, and even some influence from an upper low pressure system, which will bring some cooler temperatures, and there will be some action at the surface as well, which will cool off much of the province. But for tomorrow, as I say, humidex levels going to get close to 40 degrees along that western side of the province. And now for that western side and for much of south and central Saskatchewan tonight, it looks like we will stay dry, but there is a system that could be bringing some showers through the far north tonight. Some thunderstorms possible in the Churchill region. Those are possible again tomorrow afternoon and again along the western side where all that heat and humidity is. We could see some pop-up storms tomorrow. And then we're watching as a cold front moves through early Saturday morning, and that will be bringing some showers and cloud cover to a good portion of the province, and that'll be the south and central's next best chance for rain. Now, in terms of the thunderstorm risk tomorrow, again, mostly through the Churchill region along the western side of the province. And really, we're not looking at a lot of ingredients here for active weather. They'll likely be isolated storms. They'll likely be happening later in the evening when that cold front moves through. And really the only threat here is maybe some small hail. But we did have some active weather a few weeks ago. Tornadoes on July 8th, and we do have some additional information now on those from the Northern Tornadoes Project. 4 confirmed tornadoes, 2 of those, one near Payton and one near Blaine Lake, were rated EF2. Some tree damage near Payton, some farm damage near Blaine Lake, and that tornado width getting nearly a half a kilometer wide in around Blaine Lake. Winds up to 180 kilometers an hour. The tornado near Payton, estimated wind speeds up to 190 kilometers an hour. But no severe weather, no tornadoes, at least in Regina's future. It looks like the heat is going to stick with us the next couple of days. Humidex levels into the mid-30s. And again, some showers possibly to round out the holiday weekend. But humidex value is going to stay quite high and make things a little unstable into early next week. Saskatoon, a very hot day tomorrow with that system moving through on Saturday with that cold front. Possibly a few millimeters of rain there. And your holiday Sunday and Monday actually looking not too bad. So hopefully, Sam, the temperatures will back off a little bit as we head through the rest of the holiday, and we'll actually be able to enjoy the nice temperatures.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
Stay with us. We have more news after the break. Saskatchewan famous. That's how some might describe the late Vlad Panio of the Panio Brothers band. Vlad died at the age of 75 earlier this month after a brief but ferocious battle with cancer. We sat down with Vlad's son, Curtis Panio, for more on how the Ituna polka great will be remembered.
Well, dedication going out to all you fine folks here this evening. Here's one called Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain.
Panio Brothers are a Ukrainian band that started in 1969. Started kind of interestingly from another band that was popular at the time, the Interleague Polka Kings. There he got invited to play with them a couple times, and then got introduced to Herb Britton, who is the manager of UK Records at the time. And so they said to my dad, you got to record a song that my dad recorded and composed by himself, called "I Once Had a Girl."
From our first recording, I Once Had a Girl, or Koleshia Marjuchina, get your partners for no time else. The composer of this song is my brother Vlad from Regina.
So there my dad did that on the old 45s, if anybody remembers those. And so on one side was "I Once Had a Girl," on the other side was "Play O Gypsy Play," which was sang with my dad and my uncle John Panio and my uncle Dave Panio. And that's how they all started.
Zahraj
I would go a lot with them to their concerts, and then I started moving the equipment, kind of being, helping the roadie, as they called it, to move other equipment around and, help set up things. That I would also sell tapes and CDs as they came out later on at the front as they would perform. He's a devoted father. He's a devoted musician. He's devoted to whatever he did, teaching, and he's a principal. And then bus driving in his later years, he would never miss a day. And he's just a very hardworking individual, and just a man that I'm very proud to call my father. Everywhere I go, still to this day, do you know Vlad Panio? Do you know John Panio? Do you know the Panio Brothers? Are you related to the Panio Brothers? Everywhere I go, it's amazing, and it's an homage to them. It's for what they've accomplished, and the people that they touched in these prairie provinces.
Celebrate Saskatchewan, the land of wealth and hope.
They've accomplished so much, and we're going to miss them so much on a personal level, and then of course on a professional level. We're going to try to keep the music alive a little bit somehow. We were very, very close, me and my dad, Vlad, and so just I'm going to miss him very much.
And Ethan is back with one last look at tonight's weather.
And it'll be a clear and calm night in Regina, Sam, and it'll be that way at 8 a.m. as well. 15 degrees under sunny conditions. Those winds out of the south about 20 kilometers an hour. We get to the noon hour and we're already at 27. Winds will pick up a little bit, but sunny conditions stick around. A little warmer at 8 a.m. in Saskatoon, where we'll be at 20 degrees. Southwest winds gusting close to 30 kilometers an hour. Those will pick up just a little bit through the afternoon. By the time we hit the noon hour, we are close to 30 degrees, sunny conditions, and feeling like 31. And these calm, sunny days making for some gorgeous photos. Kate took this shot out at Manitou Beach with the little bit of cloud cover in there. And one of those photos, Sam, where you can't really tell which one's upside, if it's right side up or upside down. It's such a great shot. Looks like a mirror.
I would bet there'll be more of those pictures taken over the weekend.
Yes, I'm sure.
All right. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
And before we leave you, it is day 5 of the Tony Cody First Nations Summer Games in Saskatchewan. Today, competition kicked off in canoeing, soccer, beach volleyball, and archery. Shooters from across the province have their eyes on the targets over the next couple days at Whitecap Dakota First Nation, both with traditional and compound bows.
I see a couple of my other friends from Craig the Kettle here, but I feel like I see all these communities here, and it just sort of shows like how much people are actually into the tradition of archery.
Some of the athletes just got into archery this year, so the games are their first opportunity to shine at a shooting competition. Those who do well will be presented with a medal tomorrow. The Summer Games wrap up with the closing ceremonies on Saturday. And that is it for us tonight. For News Anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/Sask or Saskatoon, or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. Glenn Reed will be back with more tonight at 11. Thanks for watching and have a great night.